The PM is on his way to India as we go to air with our chief anchor Kieran Gilbert in tow. The PM gave a doorstop at the airport on his way to India where he mentioned the fact it was International Women's Day and made a boast of the number of women he has in the caucus.
Today is International Women's Day and I'm very proud to lead the first Australian government ever made up of a majority of women. 54 women in our caucus of 103 members. And it's no accident that the government has already made significant reforms to advance the interests of women and therefore advance the interests of Australia.
This was reinforced by a social media post by Katie Gallagher, the Minister for Women, today.
It's great to be a member of the Labor Women in an Albanese government caucus. There's a lot of us, more than half the caucus, which is fantastic. And just so proud to work alongside such incredible, inspiring women from right across the country, representing different constituencies and communities, but all deeply committed to the work that we do to make a better Australia and a fairer and more gender equal Australia.
The PM finally confirmed he was travelling to the US and would have another bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden next week, but wouldn't say the AUKUS word, despite the world's press knowing he, the British PM and US President are announcing the AUKUS nuclear submarines arrangement in San Diego next week.
Australia and India are important partners. We share common values. We are both vibrant democracies. We have an interest in improving our economic relations. After this visit, I will be visiting the United States for a bilateral meeting with President Biden.
Well, as I said, Kieran Gilbert is travelling with the PM. I caught up with him a short time before takeoff. Well, Kieran, thanks for joining us on your way to India today. Australia is its sixth biggest trading partner is India. The PM wants to see it about third. How important is this trip to that? What are they trying to achieve on this trip?
Well, it's crucial, Andrew. This relationship has been underdone for way too long. It is a country that we have a lot in common with. The biggest thing is cricket, as we know, and it's a love, it's a religion in India. It's something that our politicians have thought that we can help capitalise on over many years, but no one's ever done it. India is the fifth largest economy in the world, the fastest growing large economy in the world, and Australia should be doing more. It's only our sixth largest trading partner, and there are areas where that growth can be built upon, and you can see that with the makeup of this business delegation that is travelling with the Prime Minister. Not only a very high-level delegation, but one that's targeted in areas where Australia already has a fair bit of strength.
And we've seen overnight pictures of Anthony Albanese and Narendra Modi on the sight screen at the Test cricket ground that you'll be travelling to on, I think, Sunday. That's just extraordinary, isn't it? What's that all about?
Yeah, it is. Well, it really is. And a couple of points to make. First of all, the ground Ahmedabad in Gujarat, it's the Narendra Modi Stadium. It's named after the Prime Minister, the former governor of the state of Gujarat. It's the largest stadium in the world. Apparently 130,000 people they can fit in there. So it's going to be quite the scene. Some speculation it might even break the world record for attendances at a test match with the start, because it is going to have the Prime Minister of Australia and India, both Prime Ministers travelling around in the back of a vehicle as well on the Oval, to the audience.
Wow.
And then on these signs it has 75 years of friendship through cricket. Now, it mightn't sound much, but what it shows you is, one, that India has a fair bit of buy-in to building this relationship as well, with the effort that Modi's going to here. And two, it's exactly the sort of message our government wants to hear, trying to build on those complementary facets between our two nations, Andrew.
Now, the second part of this trip, it's been pretty secret up until now. We've said on air that he's travelling to the US for AUKUS. Reports this morning it's in San Diego, and we've been saying for a while that Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson will be there. The nuclear submarines announcement, it's been speculated to be $100 to $200 billion. What do you make of the significance of this, and have you ever seen a bigger defence announcement by an Australian Prime Minister?
No way. Not in terms of its size nor its fanfare. This is a huge deal, and in terms of our overall budget, defence budget, and more broadly, an historic moment for the Albanese government. It was the coalition government that established AUKUS. It's this government that's going to have to start the early stages of delivering on it. And it will be in San Diego. We'll be travelling with the Prime Minister from India to the United States for that arrangement. But it's, to be frank, Andrew, it's the whole question of China that's the backdrop for the whole trip. We spoke about the economic relationship with India. Yes, that's important, but it's part of that broader outlook when it comes to that other Asian giant in the region being China. Now, India's been largely neutral in its foreign policy over its history. It's had its own tensions with China on a border dispute in the Himalayas. 20 Indian soldiers killed back in 2020. It was quite a tense moment between those two countries. But what it's done is push India further into the arms of the Quad. Australia's invested a lot in that. They're doubling down on that, and they want India to be basically this democratic counterweight or counterbalance to China in the region. So that's the backdrop for this part of the visit. But then, obviously, it's the entire focus when we get to the United States with that other alliance framework through AUKUS.
And how do you think Scott Morrison feels when AUKUS was his idea, or certainly the idea of one of his advisors, and Anthony Albanese's there getting all the credit?
Well, I think he'll feel that history will be kind to him when it comes to this issue. He sees this as a big part of his legacy as Prime Minister. He's copped a fair bit of flack with the multi-ministries and all that sort of stuff since the election, the government piling in on the former government and former PM. You've got the robo-debt dramas and everything else. But this thing and this AUKUS arrangement he will see, I believe, as the shining jewel of his political legacy.
And all of this comes too with a backdrop of increasing tension between China and the US. So Anthony Albanese is still saying, if invited, I will go to China this year. But then he's announcing nuclear submarines. And overnight we've had a Chinese government spokesman warning of potential conflict and confrontation because of the US's stance on Taiwan. It's just such an increasingly tense time, isn't it?
It really is, and I think what it will do, though, is see the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister reinforce their message when it comes to China, that they're going to deal with them where they can, oppose them where they must. And the thing I think that they're doing more than anything right now in terms of China is not going out one out, not being out there on their own. They're doing everything through the region, through ASEAN, through alliances and relationships in our part of the world. It's an important differentiation with the former government. They'll continue doing that, saying that they are standing up where they must, but not going one out when they're doing it.
Kieran, thanks so much. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you soon on the road.